You're listening to Data Center Therapy. Please take a number, and an engineer will be right with you.
All right, welcome back, everyone, to Data Center Therapy, a podcast from IVOXY Consulting that talks all things IT with a healthy dose of empathy. I am your host, Matt Yette, and with me is my co-host, Mr. Matt Cozzolino.
Hello, everyone. How's it going?
Hello, and joining us today is our resident VDI expert, superstar, educational professor, teacher, and emeritus, Mr. Ryan Grelck. Ryan, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Mr.
Good.
Magnum VDI.
I'm really doing well.
I don't have the mustache anymore, so no more Magnum VDI.
Oh, that's sad.
No, well, yeah, that's Gillette VDI. I think we deemed
There
you
we
after
go.
that, or Schick VDI. What caused you to get rid of it finally?
Just tired of it.
I'm kind of feeling that a little bit also.
Yeah.
It's if you could chart it out, it's probably very similar for all of us. Is that resistance is very high on the way in to the growth, and then you're like, oh, I'm past that point, so I've invested the time and the suffering, so I'm good. And then shortly after that, you're like, any day it could go. I could go, and then you get pot committed.
Yep.
Like, well, all right.
You turn the
And then
corner
a
into
year
having to comb it and take care of it and all of that stuff. We're talking about beards, by the way.
Yeah.
Facial hair. Yeah, that's right. This is not a video podcast. Luckily for everybody out there. My thing is combing and taming is fine. I at the barber when I get my hair cut once every it should be like once a month, once every 6 weeks or 8 weeks. They'll trim it also. But for me, it's eating.
Yeah.
More hair lands in my mouth.
Now you understand why they were in beard nets at the Safeway or whatever, right?
Sure, and I didn't even think about that. You're right. Of course, that's not my angle. Like my angle is I can't lick the bowl anymore.
There's that. So
but my dogs appreciate it.
Getting it out of the way. There you go.
Oh,
my dogs find like bits of Cheez-Its in there.
Yeah. It was really bad with my mustache when I would eat like
Soup.
super hot wings.
There
And
you
then
go.
all of a sudden I have the sauce on my mustache and it's hard to get out.
Your face has caught fire, basically.
Yeah,
you can't
yeah,
put it out.
yeah.
So that's what happens when you get pepper sprayed.
Have you been pepper sprayed?
Have I?
Yeah.
Yes.
What?
What's the story there? So my brother was a cop, and they go through training, and they do all of it. They get tasered, they get pepper spray, they get all of this stuff.
So this was by choice.
I want to say it was a birthday. We were hanging out and having barbecue at the house. I was still living with my parents. We were drinking some beers, and I said, hey, you know what? Let's do it. But if we're going to do it, set up like the obstacle course or whatever so I can, progress through that and do that. So, yeah.
You got hit in the face with pepper spray.
There was a stream right across the forehead, and then it runs down, and then it burns and burns and burns some more.
Man.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
When's waterboarding and tasing on that course?
That's I think week 2, week 3, something like that. You talk to most people though, and the way I understand it is like, give me a taser over OC or pepper spray or anything, because that zap and hurts, and then it's done. The weird bit, I was working out a bunch at the same time, so the next day, the 2-3 days later, I went to we were doing Aikido, I think it was. And worked up a sweat, and everything had been fine, and then like everything came out of the pores again. I'm like, whoo, wow, there we go. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Like that one time that I thought before I really understood what cooking when I was in my probably late teens or early 20s, and my spaghetti sauce called for a clove of garlic, and I thought the clove meant the head.
Thing. That doesn't. That's
so
not
it all
what it
went
means?
in. Well, from a flavor standpoint, you get to like you hit that wall where it just doesn't get any more garlicky. It's just garlicky. Great, I love it. Now I'm on the elliptical like 2 days later. Who freaking stinks in this place, right? It's me, Ed. It was nasty. Woof.
The community college I was going to, Garlic, they did a like pasta day on Thursdays or something. And you'd go out and they'd make the pasta, toss everything in. You could, I want some of this, some of that. And they had the like Costco sized tub of minced garlic, and it was, you could tell Like you get there later in the afternoon, and it's like, oh, it must be garlic day because everyone comes into class, and it's
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. I have a tub of that in my fridge because my mother-in-law goes to Costco, and invariably she buys 2 of everything. So
Mhm.
there's like 2 lifetimes worth of garlic. Here, take one. So I usually try to mince fresh garlic, but if in a pinch, if it's something I don't really care about, it's a scoop. So welcome back to Life Stories Therapy and everything else. It's fine. It's fine.
Cooking
we
tips
got
with a
very casual. This, I mean, one of the podcasts I've been listening to, is the Entourage. It's called Victory the Podcast. Anybody who's ever watched Entourage, it's the creator and a couple of the main actors. Johnny Drama's on there, and it's a lot of the stuff I enjoy about the podcast is just them chatting about what's come about in the last bit. So it's kind of our own little version of that, except people just don't care what we have going on, but we're going to talk about it anyway.
That's what I hear. Yeah.
I heard we're IT celebrities, though.
Are we?
You heard this?
No.
No, I didn't.
When do we get a star? I want a star.
No,
Put
I'm
one
kidding.
in the driveway
Actually.
or something. There you go.
So we have Ryan on because he just completed, well, just a couple of weeks ago, Horizon 8 virtual learning class, right, Ryan?
Yeah. Students were using Horizon 8 2006. That's what I deployed in the lab. Students loved it. They had fun with the labs. They learned a lot. Had several different skill levels, and they all learned from it, which was great. I was pretty happy about that.
And did you run through 2 classes now? Did you do it twice?
No,
Or
I
is that
have
coming up? You've got another
my
one coming up. Okay.
second class is coming up next month. Yeah.
That's kind of been the model where we'll just put out one class, and obviously we're open to more. And when that registration enrollment fills up, which just spills over, it's fill and spill, and it's been working out.
Yeah.
I like that though. I mean, all of those Horizon environments, each were in their own isolated pod, running on the same hardware, running in the same environment. But so what makes up every student had a playground, right? And on top of the curriculum, what was in each playground?
So each user had a Windows domain controller, which was also a file server, which was also a certificate authority. I had a connection server. I had what else did I have?
You had some
Well, there's no
desktops.
security server,
Yeah,
right?
No
broker,
security
right?
server. I had desktops.
Oh,
yeah,
you
the
didn't do the
broker is the
UAG.
connection server. I'll do UAGs for my advanced class, but I had a file server for DEM, Dynamic Environment Manager.
That's
I mean, it was
and it all
pretty
went
cool.
off.
Yeah, worked
Did you
great.
feel like? Did you ever get to the? This is my fear. Do you feel like you ever got to the part in the class where it's just off the rails? 8 people are in 8 different directions. So that obviously probably not. But did you ever have that?
No, that happens.
Get close to that point?
Yeah, I mean, it happens, and there are some students who just like, I'm done with this lab. I'm gonna go through the next 5 labs, which is way past the lecture point. But I'm not gonna stop them because they're
Right.
learning and enjoying it. So
Yeah.
There's 2 parts to that because I feel like I'm there.
Mhm.
I'll jump ahead, but I won't. But I'll be less likely to jump in and say, if there's an issue, I'll wait till the rest catches up, and then I'll jump in with the question.
Mhm.
Hopefully
So
they didn't.
I ran into this 20 minutes ago. Now that you guys are here, let me ask my question. That kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Try to stay with the
Yeah,
flow. Yeah. Who was your helper from IVOXY?
it was Shane. Shane's my
Well,
helper. Yeah.
There you go.
Start calling. We gotta come up with a nickname for him. He's turning into Lab Man. He's taught a couple classes already. He's doing another one.
He's doing
Maybe
a lot of
for 7.
the heavy lifting for those templates that we got there. It's
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
fun from a management point of view, seeing the VMs evolve and seeing the consistency happen. And as we're getting it going, we're narrowing in on that. It's kind of
Yeah, it's funny how you can build a VM and think that you've got it set, and then you put it into a cloned or templated environment and just start spinning them up at will, and then you see these things that pop up like CPU. Well, that didn't happen when I built the template. What the heck? And
Yeah.
it's weird.
We had an hour meeting the other day talking about standards and this and that and the things we want to do, and already it's like, all right, so here's this list of things we want to change.
Yeah.
Right? Change and update.
Well, there are things that come naturally too, Matt, because remember when we started with the Terraform, I'm not saying team Coz or team Yeti, but I think you have the inclination to go deep right away because you think ahead. You think how far could this potentially go, and I might look at it and say maybe we'll get there when we get there because right now we could stop our progress completely by planning out and designing for a situation that's still 18, 24 months away, but we need to get stuff done now in a bit of a simplicity. So neither one's wrong, I don't think. But you can really overburden yourself with policy and design when I need to build one VM, but I'm going to build 18 policies that apply to it. So when we get to 100 VMs, we're good. At one point, it's like, I'll just build the freaking thing. Yeah.
I mean, we definitely had a lot of learning experiences throughout the entire building of the lab, for sure.
Oh yeah, and not just building it, but I think going through the content with you, because we took a minute and did like a dry run. I put on the student hat for you, right? And we went through some stuff and said, hey, you know what? Let's adjust this. Let's streamline some of that, and that's a thing you have to go through. So are we using
the whole class? You did that.
What's that? Like,
did you do that for the entire curriculum?
We got
that's a lot of patience too.
We got through a bunch of it, and it was making notes. It's like let me put on my monkey fingers and see if I can break this and see how things go, right?
You remember the early day dry runs we brought in non-IT users in the company, so not the consultants, not the engineers.
What were
no
we calling
fault.
those? Scale testing or something?
Something stress testing.
Testing,
it tested my stress. And not anybody's fault, right? Because I think we approached it from a very thoughtful point of view, but it probably wasn't really all that smart in that case, because you're like, okay, let's make it so even somebody who doesn't use computers can do it. Well, no, that's not who vSphere Advanced is. That class is not going to have someone who's never touched virtualization before, who's never logged into a remote desktop session before.
What? But
here we were in that similar vein, and yeah, so it was a bad target, I think, for the idea. And our stress were all tested, I think.
I think our goal with that process was maybe a little missing, because there was a piece where, holy crap, we haven't spun up 20 pods and had everyone kick off a vSphere upgrade all at the same time, right? So we do need to do that, but then there's also how does this flow? Do the instructions make sense? Do we know where we're right?
Yep.
There's two different
things.
And
we do have to have it for different skill levels, admittedly, yes. Not everybody is at the same level. But then we did have the discussion that, we can assume that there is some basic IT skill, not IT, computer use skills.
There you go.
But the stress was good. I mean, those pods, I mean, that's especially VDI probably, Ryan, right? They're not.
I can't do 20, that's for sure.
Right.
We found out.
So now we've got the handout for more money, for more equipment.
We need a couple more compute servers, yeah.
Yeah.
So you said you did the class on 8. Are we actually running 8 for the
students? No, I need to upgrade that. That's on my long list of to-do stuff for maintenance.
Along with
but yeah, I'm gonna upgrade it from. We're on 7.12, and so that's 3 releases behind.
Okay. Yeah. So I know we've got some deployment stuff, some scripting stuff that we do when we deploy a class. Are we going to get any more? Are we going to get to streamline any of that better? Do we get more APIs, different stuff?
Yeah, so we'll get a whole lot more APIs available to us once we upgrade. So that would be really nice.
I would love to work with you on that, Ryan. That'll be fun to re-architect.
The VDI APIs have been, as Matt Yette has seen, a long-term work in progress. Because it's
definitely a shoehorn. It's
taking a Google playbook and making it beta forever, right?
Well, it's open. Anybody can contribute to it, which is really interesting. For the Power CLI stuff, yeah.
That right there is the answer to, Matt, if you want to complain, it's open. Go ahead and fix it yourself then.
Yeah.
And then I'd sit here, cross my arms, and say no. I like that they've got the Swagger interface now for API calls. It's really nice to be able to test inputs and outputs without having to build up a whole separate script and run it. And it
you
also
could
makes me feel
you
better.
could test it live against the server
Yeah.
too, which is awesome.
That's cool.
From
I
that
mean,
UI, yeah.
I feel better about trying a new API because we have the old quote unquote working one over there. Like
Mhm.
we've got that in the can. We're good. All else fails, we can go back to that. Now, when you upgrade, will you be upgrading? Will you be standing up a parallel Horizon environment?
I'll just do an in-place upgrade.
Oh, an in-place upgrade. Okay. Is that roll backable?
Yeah, through snapshots.
Oh, I mean,
Yeah.
snapshots
that
or
works.
rubric or
That
whatever.
works,
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. That's good. And I'm guessing whenever we do it, it'll be upgraded early enough where any kinks will be worked out. I can't imagine we'd be moving backwards. What we automate's pretty simple, right? We just basically go through what the new pool creation wizard
Exactly,
does,
yeah.
and
And
there you go.
I don't think that would change, but I'm sure there's going to be a lot more niceties that we can do.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Well,
maybe
the script
let's
right now for
spend-
granting entitlements to those pools, because we create like student users.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that one.
And we tie them. That is, I don't know if you'd call it a hack, but it's very much a working around the behavior of the Horizon API. When you create a pool through the API call, it doesn't, and then you try to assign, because programmatically you shouldn't have to necessarily wait outside of a confirmation that, yeah, I accepted that command, we're good. Wait for anything. But what happens is, as it's building the pool and building those things out, you have to wait for it to completely provision before entitling through the PowerShell. Now, from a GUI standpoint, you can assign the entitled user groups right away.
Yeah,
Right.
immediately.
I think,
Yep.
yeah. So if you try to do that programmatically through the PowerShell library, it'll bomb. It bombs and it drops out of the entire script. So it'll quit on whatever user, which is usually user one. So what I had to do was find a command that would give me feedback or output on what the status is. And then it would give me a different status once it was quote unquote ready. It's not directly a command that says, tell me if you're ready. It's trying to intimate, okay, when it's still provisioning, it gives me this behavior. And when it's done, I get this behavior. And then what I do is I loop through and I wait 5 seconds and I hit and I check. And then I wait 5 seconds until it finally returns what I'm looking for. Then I set the entitlement and I loop back to the next one. So it does theoretically slow things down. From a code standpoint, it doesn't really. I mean, you might add 5 seconds a user because you might have to check for 5 extra seconds every cycle.
Mhm.
But things like that are going to be nice. And I'm assuming that that's going to be more natively supported. I'm hoping.
Yeah.
Cross your fingers.
We'll find out. I haven't looked to that far, but yeah, just give me a Boolean. Is available to entitle true or false, right?
Yeah, I mean that,
Or
or
just
let me set it.
Cue
Let me set it right away.
Exactly. Yeah.
Let me
Here,
set
let
it
me
right
take
away.
this is in progress. Let me take it and acknowledge it and
Yep.
queue it up and do that next.
I mean,
yeah. Oh well.
So these version numbers are really going to confuse me. The 2006. Now I'm seeing there's a 2012 out.
Yep.
That's
but-
weird.
and-
I've seen a couple other things with that.
Yeah.
I-
VMware decided to go with the year, month release schedule, which
Yeah.
actually doesn't
Oh,
even.
that's what it is.
That's what it is. So yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't even tie back to when they were actually released, because I think 2006 was released in May, I think, so earlier, and then 2012 was released in January of this year. So
So basically, we're waiting for the first release from this year to get off this weird current scheme with it starting with 2.0.
Yeah.
So we don't confuse it with the year.
But then Microsoft did the same thing for years with the Windows 10 builds, but now they're doing 20H1, 20H2, 21H1, which I think just came out.
That's
Or-
crazy.
So,
Yeah.
admittedly, I've not been in the Windows world too much at all. Certainly not personally, and even professionally, since the advent of the vSphere web client, even the terrible Flash client, but now HTML5, I have very little need for Windows, period. And I just want to I give so much credit to you and David, our resident VDI experts, because 90% of VDI is not setting up Horizon.
No, it's not.
It's making it work with the profile. It's understanding Windows. It's understanding all of those weird quirks that Microsoft has put in.
The
and
group
locks them.
policies and the registry hacks and everything you have to do to make that work.
And
That's
I
impressive.
remember
honestly.
Ryan throwing in on a project trying to help, and it was about start menu persistence. And based on what version of Windows you're using, they would. It's almost like Microsoft was treating any kind of modification of that as malware, and they were moving it and hiding it and changing it from version to version. And you're like, look, man, I just want Internet Explorer to be on a taskbar.
Why is this hard?
Yeah. Good luck.
Yeah.
It was the worst for years. I mean, it is so much easier now.
That's good to hear.
Yeah.
I give you a lot of credit because it's things like that. It's things like I'll design scale out storage or high availability enterprise data center stuff. In the second, and my poor wife, she's like, "Hey Matt, the printer's not working," and my blood pressure goes through the roof because I'm like, I don't want this.
It's a phone call from my
driver.
Phone call from my mom, or you show up and there's that list of stuff, and it's like my printer doesn't, my this doesn't, my oh god, yes.
And all I want to do is take that printer and spike it like I'm Gronkowski. I just want to put it through the floor.
Yeah.
So I can't. So people who deal with Windows,
sure.
people who deal with Windows issues, Ryan, and have to dig deep under the covers, kudos to you.
I want more of our clients to do Linux because I love Linux. And
Linux
VDI supports Linux, so.
But as I discovered, you have to be Active Directory integrated, though, right?
You do, yeah.
So
yep,
it's
that's the
Linux,
one
but
linchpin.
it's not,
yeah.
It doesn't work with
Sad.
LDAP?
Nope, it requires an actual domain infrastructure
okay.
to tie into.
Which, LDAP can be, right?
Yeah, I mean, you could do that with Linux,
AD.
but...
Yeah. Thing about Linux is they've been saying this is the year of Linux on the desktop for literally decades, 20 years at least.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm as big a fan of Linux. I've been using it since I was 13 years old. I think we talked about our home labs. I've got something like 40 VMs and 38 of them are Linux.
Oh yeah,
something
same
like
here.
that. But it's not a desktop OS, in my opinion. There's going to be a lot of people listening who might shout at me and say you're wrong. I'm not saying it doesn't work for anyone or can't work for you. I just think mass expansion support, you're not going to see it out there. Desktops will stop being a thing before Linux becomes a predominant desktop working environment in the majority, I would say.
Yeah.
It's just there's not enough standards, right? The very nature of listen, you don't have this big behemoth gorilla in the room of Microsoft to push down policies. That very concept means you will never coalesce around a central main distribution.
Yeah, I mean,
it's just good and bad.
Which desktop manager do you have? Do you have KDE, GNOME, XFCE?
Right.
I mean, yeah.
Right.
Which version are you running? Which flavor of
Yeah.
Linux are you running?
Yeah, exactly.
Is it still Windows, Mac, and then Linux, and then all the Linux flavors? Yeah.
As far as market share?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think there's anything other in terms of unless you got that BOS lab spinning up over there or OS2 if you're pushing that
there
still.
There you go.
Oh yeah.
The
that's
funny
cool.
the funny thing I see about that is like most of these appliances and whatnot these days are effectively just Linux boxes running whatever application, whatever components on top of it.
It makes no sense not to,
right?
Because it's open, and the development is just crazy.
Yeah, and we all change what we're excited about in the industry and with our hobbies as we age, right? And I remember being at a Babbage's, which was in the mall. So those used to be like an electronics boutique, I think, right? But you could buy software off the shelf, and my 15-year-old ass must have been the most annoying kid on the planet going into these stores and chatting up the employees about I remember telling this one guy when Windows 95 came out, it's got or maybe it was 98, it's got an automatic recovery in case the install fails. I was pitching this to him, look how cool this is. If the upgrade fails, it will repair itself. And I remember the guy deadpanning me it shouldn't fail. Ooh, how fancy it is. Ooh, your crappy OS recovers when it pukes on itself. But just the excitement of all of that. And I just remember GUIs being something that I'm excited about, or this and that. And now I feel like I've turned the corner where, and it reflects in the phone, right? People who are like, oh, Android's so customizable. I'm like, I don't freaking care. I need the phone to be a phone and work and get out of my way. GUIs, we're seeing more effort being put into command line than ever.
APIs,
Oh, it's
Because-
APIs are there, but it doesn't show up
crazy.
in the GUI.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't ever consider myself a fanboy. I use what I use because I like it because it works the best for what I need it to do. And Apple and Mac OS have been driving me freaking bananas. They just insist on cramming more Crayola automated predictive crap. No, I know what I want to do. You don't. Stop expecting and it's just I'd rather just freaking type on the command line at this point. It's crazy how it's kind of gone backwards. That's the cyclical nature of our industry too.
The one that I find most recently has been the NSX password expiry component. There isn't a mechanism in there to go change your passwords through the UI, through the web. You have to SSH into all your edge servers, your managers, and run the command to set the password. And it boggles my mind that we're going to set this at a 30, 60-day timeout for the password and not give you a provision to go change that
Quite
easily.
a critical, important
Mhm.
function that every
Right.
single customer will run
Right.
into at some point.
Yep.
Mhm.
The UAGs in Horizon are the same way. There's two passwords. There's the admin password, which is easy to reset because it's through a web GUI. But then there's the root password, which could also expire.
Mhm.
You'll have to SSH into each one and change the
You know what?
password there.
I got to do that on my lab. Let me make a note.
Gotta write
here.
it down. But all it does is enforce people to use just disable that or set it to 10 years or whatever.
Zero.
Yeah.
Forever.
It's tough.
Yeah.
It's tough to make that
Which
balance,
is also,
right?
probably not a good practice either.
No.
Especially depending on your security team's posture too.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
I would
it
I would love
scripting
a proper
to do it, but yeah.
passwords need to just go away because I hate rotating passwords too.
Mm-hmm.
I hate it because that means your password manager is completely robust and working and in sync across all devices you potentially could ever log into anything from or that I've reset it from. And Matt, you might be looking and say you've got that working. I don't. I mean, I've got Safari saving some passwords, and I've got Bitwarden saving some passwords, and that plugin's kind of not great. 1Password's plugin was really good, but now they've switched over to this perpetual model, and I'm like, no, I've already bought it once. I will not pay you again.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just, I find that to be a mess. For me, it's a struggle, and I've got a biometric camera that actually works and actually is secure on my phone right there. Maybe something like that, or I'm wearing a watch that's authenticated and it knows it's me.
I mean, there's the multi-factors, right? Something you have, something you know. What do we define as the biometric definition of Matt Yette, and is that person here logging into this thing? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, maybe everything needs a plug-in for like a YubiKey, where you have a physical device that you're plugging into to authenticate. Yeah, or the watch, or whatever. Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Because what you know, anybody could know.
Yeah.
That will forever and ever remain the case.
Yep.
Expecting grandma to have 4 separate words that unrelated with spaces in between, and I don't see it happening.
Right.
And then every 30 days reset it. Yeah.
When I discovered certificate authentication into my Linux boxes, that was a game changer for me. And then you can do it on switches. You can do
Cert
it on
or
almost-
SSH key.
SSH key. Sorry.
SSH.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
that's awesome.
It's basically I have a copy and paste on any new Linux box I set up to get that rolling.
Yep.
It is so nice. And then you can still set the root password as something incredibly hard because you don't have to type it a lot. And then you can also say deny root login at that point too if you want with it. Yeah. Yep. You know what we didn't talk about, Ryan? I'm going to hijack it a little bit.
Horizon.
We didn't talk about this on the last. Well, right. We talked about Horizon a little bit. Well, we were going through. We're like, this is supposed to be about Horizon 8, and I'm like, well, we got to talk more about Ryan's class than the topic because we kind of had a Horizon 8 a few months ago. It was a while ago. But last episode, Matt, we didn't talk about the Exchange. The Hafnium vulnerabilities. I meant to talk about that. Are you seeing that? Are any customers talking about that, Ryan?
Oh yeah. The day that the patch was released, I had my clients were like, "I gotta go. I gotta take care of this." So I was working with some, multiple people So 2/3 of them had to leave
Or just
to go
fails,
deal with
patch
it.
their
Just
stuff.
yeah, I mean, you got to patch it ASAP. I mean, I saw last night there's a new actor that's been using 11 0 days across Android, iOS, Windows, and Mac to hack into companies. Like, that's insane. What is going on with security
Yeah.
lately?
And
Wow.
the scary part so I have a demo playground exchange server deployed on my hosted environment, and it's actually it's exposed for like OA and stuff like that. I went in to check, and I'm running. It was March 5th that a lot of this stuff started hitting down, and I got up early and I'm just checking things out, and I'm not kidding you. As I was scanning, it was being exploited. Like it just started.
Wow.
Like 3 minutes prior, all my logs were showing all that stuff. They landed a couple of ASPX files, but they were nothing. They weren't web shells. They were, in my opinion, precursor to web shells.
A dropper.
They were manipulating the OAB virtual directory, which is where a lot of the attack vectors were going. And the files were outputs of like get OAB virtual directory. So that it wasn't yet a web shell, but I believe that was so I ripped all that stuff out and I instantly just started whacking moles like that and got around it. And now I've scanned and run all the updated scans that Microsoft keeps improving.
Yep.
And they've done a good job of leveraging GitHub to get that stuff out to the community, which is cool.
It's their own tool.
And
so.
clean and confirmed. But the worry is, I think, if it's too long, if it's been there too long, even if you rip that web shell out, they could have moved horizontal at that point to your AD
Yep.
infrastructure.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
that's the worry.
Mhm.
That's terrifying. That is terrifying.
Yep. Which is why I don't provide any of my services to the
Yeah.
internet. It's all, I got a VPN in.
That's good.
Everything.
That is good.
I mean, I kind of want to set up like an Nginx reverse proxy with some 2FA, but I just need time.
Time. Everyone.
Yeah.
Speaking for just client wise VPN, Ryan, have you played with WireGuard at all?
Yeah, I have. WireGuard's slick.
Do you have so in my opinion, it's a pain in the butt to set up. It's easy because it's very few things you have to do, but following the tutorials and the blog posts, I'm like
The directions are complicated on some of these things.
Yeah.
It's like-
Which is why I did it through a Docker container, because it's a
There
lot
you go.
easier.
There you go.
There you go.
Yeah.
So I've got it both. I've got it setting up as a point-to-point between my two locations. So I have, because my Ubiquity stuff or my Meraki stuff can only do like between 50 and 250 megabits encrypted, right? So the performance is bad. WireGuard can do line rate. I can get my gig encrypted to two WireGuard VMs, and those VMs aren't working hard when they're doing that. It blows my mind.
I mean,
Anyway, yeah, but it also needs to be a client for my phone. So that was a confusing part for me. It needs to be an endpoint. But the phone apps are great because you can say, if I'm on cellular, auto connect. If I'm on Wi-Fi, auto connect. Oh wait, but if I'm on my home Wi-Fi, don't auto connect.
There you go.
That is cool. So you can basically worry about going to a Starbucks or a coffee shop. You're fine. You're good. Just click that button and it's automatically on. That I like.
Yep. Yeah, I'm actually working on setting up a server with WireGuard, PiHole, and Unbound for my own, recursive DNS.
Look at AdGuard versus PiHole just before you commit to one.
Is it a DNS?
I was on PiHole.
Is that a hosted DNS
Yeah.
thing?
Yeah.
Well, yes. I used to do PiHole. I would find they're probably both the same. I mean, I don't know if using PiHole for DHCP. Some people do. I don't.
No.
But it could do that. But AdGuard, I switched from PiHole to AdGuard. And if you pressed me, I probably couldn't make a winning argument as to why it is the better. But just for me, I just liked it better. So just at least examine it before you commit to one.
Yeah, I'll give it a try because I have app templates for Portainer. I use Portainer because it's just a single Docker host. And AdGuard's in there, so I'll give that a try.
Okay.
Very nice. Yeah, you'll like that.
Will it sync? Will it sync between devices, or is it a service we run local? You run local like PiHole, or will it
You
Or
talk
is
about
it-
AdGuard is a service, and you point your resolve to it. That's
Okay.
your DNS server.
So if you stand up two, will they peer with each other? Like I've got two PiHoles running for redundancy.
Yeah.
But if I go make a change on one, I have to go make a change on the other because they're independent.
I would assume
instances that don't.
I would assume
Okay.
it's not. Yeah. But what are you doing? You're doing like local redirection query, like forwarders, or
Like
block
like
lists?
internal DNS or something.
Internal DNS forwards to my AD environment, but then
Yep.
everyone else.
That used to be
just a
hard on
DHCP.
PiHole, by the way.
Yeah.
That used to be really goofy on PiHole. With AdGuard, you put a line in their GUI. You've got this domain, go over here for that. 'Cause I do the same thing. But yeah, I would assume block lists, any whitelisting you do, I don't think there's any kind of clustering set up. But all good stuff, right? Because what ads? I don't have any ads. Like very few on my browsing.
Have you
which
run
is
into
great.
the issue I was running into with our Zoom Outlook integration piece? Was that something you had to go turn on? Because remember I was having that problem where Zoom wasn't
I
working.
do
on
remember
Outlook.
that. You're like, it's not DNS. There's no way it can be DNS.
DNS. What?
It was DNS.
And it was, yeah. We hop on
That
the
DNS
VPN,
haiku.
no.
It starts working, yeah.
I haven't had that, but that's because you took that productivity block list and enforced it because you just wanted to not do any work.
That's exactly
So that's why
it.
that
Yes,
got blocked.
that's exactly it.
Yes.
I'm trying to get my girlfriend to cross-stitch me the DNS haiku thing. I'll hang it up here in the corner.
Well,
That'd be
yeah,
awesome.
my problem with that block list is my mother-in-law. So I love my mother-in-law. She's not a problem. Don't get me wrong. They built Kitty Corner from us, and we have 2 point-to-point 5 gigahertz radios. So we have basically as a wireless cable down the street, and they're on my network, right? They have their own VLAN and all of this, but they get their internet through us. All my services I host for them, and because I am so heavy in blocking DNS. What does a typical mother-in-law who loves Facebook and Pinteresting and all this stuff? They click all those freaking emails like improve this and top 10 lists, and she clicks it and cannot find the website all the time because it's a spammy marketing list and it's blocked.
It goes through a tracker first, and then maybe
Exactly.
to the legitimate site.
My new favorite thing, Ryan, just yesterday, I email bombed someone hard with it because to unsubscribe, it goes through their marketing domain. So their unsubscribe link is blocked. That pissed me off.
Terrible.
But yeah, so I have to deal with at home. I don't care. Like if I get that pop up, and very rarely, like, oh, I shouldn't have clicked on that anyway. But overall, sometimes I have to whitelist things. But I wish there was a way to like have an allow click thing, but that would require them to redirect and gateway everything, and then every single embedded ad that it's blocking would show that embedded page. There's no way to. When you block at DNS, it is pretty crude, right? It's not that intelligent of a fail.
It's just got to look it up. My mom continually asks me about why my Toastmasters thing doesn't log in. I'm like, because I don't know where the heck you're trying to go with that, but it is some janky site that you're trying to log into to do your
What is Toastmasters?
It's a get together thing where
Public speaking.
You work on public speaking. They give you you're around the table and they give you topics and you talk about the topics and then you're graded on it, so it helps build the public speaking thing.
I like that.
She's old. It's cool as a concept, but it's like.
What's she doing? Is she?
She's old and
Is
retired.
this just a hobby?
She goes bowling. She swims at the gym.
Cool.
She volunteers at the food bank. So that's the other one I show up and it's like, Matt, what food do you want? Here, take this. I'm like, good Lord, Mom. But yeah, Toastmasters, and it's always this weird login, and it's DNS blocking it because this is obviously spam or obviously ads or something.
The advanced level of that class turns to Roastmasters. Maybe they just start tearing each other apart.
They ding you down, how many ums you say. Yeah, there's a whole thing they do there.
Well, I'm going through here. What else on the horizon, Ryan? It seems like we've covered an awful lot today.
It seems that VMware is modernizing Horizon, which is long overdue because it's been the same core pretty much since like the version 6 at least, and that's 8 years old or more.
Do you get the? So I would agree. Like it always feels like under the covers. I know it's working. I know it's doing things, but it almost feels very easy to break if you press it hard when you're
Fragile.
provisioning, spinning up, spinning down. Do you feel like that's becoming a little bit more of a complete process with 8, where it's more robust? Maybe I'm explaining a feeling here. Maybe you can or cannot agree if you don't want, but yeah.
It's fairly robust. It's been very stable. You know, as long as you size everything right, you're not going to have too much of an issue.
Okay.
That's cool. Only can improve. I mean,
Yeah.
I love the API centric stuff. Support for PowerShell. I know we're doing instant clones are the way forward now. No more linked.
Yeah, no more linked, no more composer. So you don't have any more persistent
There's one
disks
ding.
or anything like that. So you have to. There's workarounds, and VMware has a pretty good guide about, how to migrate from this old link clones to instant clone environment.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I mean, we're so used to companies saying this is the new way to do it, and oh, by the way, it gives you 20% of the old way, but do it.
Yeah.
This
so
is
it's
new
good to
and it's
hear
not
that
there
they're
yet, yeah.
ahead of that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
That's great.
Yeah,
That's
and
great.
it is for sure going to be a very big project when you upgrade to Horizon 2012, which no longer has the composer. So if you're wanting to stick with composer for a little bit longer, 2006 is the very last release.
No, you've got
Very cool.
a note in here about no parent VMs created. Is that what we're seeing there in the list when it's got that 6,
Yeah,
7, 8,
yeah.
9 VMs that are just like
Yeah, the
weird
CP
UID,
dash
yeah.
whatever.
Okay.
Yeah.
so those are going away then.
Those are, well, it depends if there's
It depends. Of
less
course it
than
depends.
12 VMs per host, then those parent VMs don't get created.
Okay.
So it depends on the size of your environment. Like our lab,
It depends on if it will end up making net savings, right? It won't do it until you can take advantage of it.
exactly, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. But it does
That's
all
cool.
of that compute when it's creating the provisioning, so it'll evaluate, how many VMs do I have per host? And then, oh, okay, I gotta create these parent VMs now. Which is additional compute and stuff like that.
Mhm.
But all of it's running in memory, and then all of it will be shared between those instant clones. So there's still, a bit of savings when you do that.
It's been funny with the lab and sizing it because I think we're all used to environments that we're comfortable with over provisioning because truly in any customer's environment there are very few VMs that are, most customers that virtualization makes eminent sense because the whole concept of virtualization, you've got a server, you're using 5% of its resources. Let's put 20 VMs on and use 100% of it or whatever.
Mhm.
And even still, you can get away with quite a good density of over provisioning, right?
Yep.
And I think the way we use our lab is almost like almost everything there requires dedicated resources for it. They're all doing something, especially in a class.
Especially when you got that
with
many people
desktops.
logging in, yeah.
I mean, it is a very busy environment. And in the provisionings, we're looking at the host, and we're seeing CPUs approaching 100%.
Mhm.
As long as it's not 100, it's good. Even 97% is fine. But
Well, I mean,
with-
I prefer to have everything around 80% because,
A little bit of overhead, a little bit of HA
yeah.
capacity. Yeah.
But it's like, hey, we got these are some pretty beefy servers. We're pushing them. We are pushing them.
And we need a couple more. We'll get there. We'll get
Yeah,
there.
if you're listening, if you want to hear us talk about something, email us at podcast. If you want to support us in our crusade for more resources, email Mac.
So
hey, these guys, throw these guys a bone. Yeah.
I got one.
Ryan.
I got one for
Yeah,
you real
go
quick. The API pieces we're talking about, I downloaded Postman as a tool to work with APIs, interact with APIs. Have either of you guys used that?
I've heard of it. I just always forget about it.
So
Is it a client?
So there's a client you can download and install on your machine, and
I like that.
when you're calling these APIs, it's I need this URL, right? And you call the URL and it returns some JSON string or some whatever.
You give it the post body, right?
Right. So it GUIfies that. Remember when we were running into the spin up, spin down thing with Terraform and the NSX components, and we had to back some of that stuff out, and it's all run this command through the command line and whatnot. It gives you a little bit of an easier interface to work with that. I use it a couple
Thank
of
you,
times
Matt. I'm grabbing
recently.
it right now.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yep. Yeah, because I've taken to getting a text editor up,
Mm-hmm.
or BB edit or whatever, modifying my body, and then copying and pasting it into a curl string,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mhm.
And which is,
And it takes that
I
and
mean,
gives you a much easier way to do that. So
I love it.
That is
Yeah.
cool.
I
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah.
Cool. Ryan, man, thanks for joining us. I know you've been busy. I know you're booked until like
August or
I
something.
could
right?
say May, but going with the VMware versioning, you're booked until like 2006. I
Yeah.
think. So,
Yeah.
but I really appreciate you taking the time to chat with us.
Yeah. Speaking of August, I will have an advanced Horizon class scheduled for August. So there we go.
Nice.
Look
nice,
at
nice.
that. Look at that beautiful segue. I love it. So that's your next one is August?
Yeah. My next
Cool.
new class. I'm still
New
teaching the
class.
Horizon for administrators class.
When's the next one of that?
Next month?
And are we fully booked there or we have slots?
Fully booked because, yeah, it's fully booked. So
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's cool.
That's awesome. Well,
That's cool, that's
like I said, if there's enough interest, we get a third one going this year. So it's only time, and Ryan's got a limited amount. So just let us know and hit us.
We've got a
if
couple
you're-
more coming down. Shane's got another vSphere 7
Yeah.
class
vSphere
coming.
7.
Right? Yeah.
Yep.
Right around the corner, it seems. Yeah.
It's great. It's been great. It's been great too internally, because it's very dog foody, right? We've got all this educational stuff going on, but we've got the work to collaborate to keep the infrastructure to support it all running. I mean, this has been a year which none of us have physically been in each other's presence outside of very rare occasions. We don't have our monthly engineering days in person anymore, or for now.
Mhm.
It's been a bummer. This has been a great water cooler / collaboration internally for the team too.
Yeah.
I think
There's been a lot of work
been
on
good.
that. Yeah.
It's been good. We also have one more class, additional topic that's kind of off the rails based on what we're used to here. What are we doing, Kaz? You got one coming up, right?
I've got a microsegmentation, an NSXT microsegmentation class that I'm putting together for a couple of months. I don't know when we're actually putting it on, but I'm working on the curriculum for that.
So it's specifically MicroSeg as part of NSXT,
Mm-hmm.
which is the feature that people want NSXT for.
That's
above
what
all else.
everyone asks
Mhm.
about. That's the hot newness, and I'm kind of bored. Not kind of bored. I'm not as excited about it because it's firewalling and rules and security policy like that. So, I like the
Yeah, but it's putting that protection into place you can't reach into.
right. It's
Otherwise.
it's super cool in what you do, but I think personally for me, I think the let me span 2 data centers and have the same subnets available is way
Yeah.
cooler.
Yeah.
That
right?
is super
Yep.
cool.
And I would do that in our environment, Kaz, except I don't have 4 extra hosts to buy to run all the managers.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish, right?
Yeah.
I wish. Mac. Ryan, thanks again for joining us, man. We'll let you get on with your day.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks.
Maddie, always good talking
You
to you
too.
too. And thanks for listening, everybody, to Data Center Therapy. Have a great day.